Last week, Seth Bongartz, who until recently served as the president and executive director of Hildene, the Lincoln family home in Manchester, announced he was planning to wage a campaign for the Democratic Party's nomination for one of the two state representative seats from the district that includes Manchester, Arlington, Sandgate, and most of Sunderland. Bongartz has served in the state legislature before. He represented Manchester for two terms during the 1980s before the town was redistricted into part of the current two-member district. He also served one term in the state Senate before going into law practice full-time. We had a chance to talk with Seth about his decision to throw his hat into the ring and compete for one of the two seats, which are currently held by Representatives Cynthia Browning and Kathleen James. In the press statement that announced his candidacy, Bongartz said he and Kathleen James would be running a joint campaign as a team. So, I guess basic question just to kind of get us started here. What made you decide to run?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I've been, frankly thinking that I could contribute, and then combination of the coronavirus, and I think, then what happened with Cynthia Browning and forcing everybody to come back, and I just put it all together and said, yeah, I really think I can contribute, and I think I can be a constructive force, and this is the time to do
it. So did Cynthia's motion there on that quorum call play a role in your thinking? Was that like a tipping point kind of situation, or?
It did help me decide. I think, I don't want to talk about that for this whole interview because I really want to, but move beyond that. But I think that when you have the leadership of all three parties searching for a way to avoid putting members at risk during this pandemic, and then to have one member torpedo that tripartite effort of the leadership to keep people safe this just isn't right.
So looking ahead, and past the COVID-19 emergency that we're in currently, what will be some of the key elements of your platform or some of the key issues you expect to emphasize going forward between now and January?
It's really interesting because we are going to be dealing with so much unknown. And I think the next couple of years are going to be about virtually nothing except digging us out of the hole that this coronavirus has created. The first thing we're going to have to do, obviously, is make sure that we're taking care of Vermonters. Healthcare, food, some sort of level of basic income. And then the second part will be how do we rebuild the economy? And, I don't pretend to have brilliant ideas or solutions at this moment in time because frankly, nobody does because nobody even knows what we're dealing with. And the degree to which, the degree of difficulty will be related to what the federal government does over the next 6 months, both in terms of the health of people and what happens with the economy and how much help comes from the federal government. But it's really an unknown. And what I really realized about this is that it's going to require a lot of collective thinking and a lot of working together closely to figure out solutions as we go. And so I just really decided I think that's one of the things I'm really good at, is working collaboratively with people. And I just think that's going to be more important than ever. So, you normally in these situations, you would be talking about all kinds of things like, I don't know, the environment or other issues. But, I think for the next couple of years, it's going to be focused on making sure that Vermonters are okay, the people who live in our district and our county and our state are okay as best we can. And then it's going to be about jobs and rebuilding the economy. That's what we're talking about.
And I was just thinking back to some of the issues that were sort of front and center there back in January. It seems like a long time ago now. Like paid family leave and minimum wage and cannabis reform and education spending. I mean, are those things basically dead for now until next January, or do you think there's still a possibility that the legislature should, in some form or another, perhaps in an extended session that would drag on into the summer, get back to focusing on some of those things that seemed so important back in January?
Well, of course, in a way, they're going to remain important because they were important for a reason, and they're going to remain important. The timing is going to be everything on this, I think. The one thing we don't want to do, now by a mile more than ever, is put any stress on our small businesses beyond what they're already feeling. And at the same time, we have to just make sure we're taking care of people. The federal government's response on, for people to be able to get the $600 on top of what the state's done has really been a lifesaver, and we'll see how long that lasts. It's just so hard to tell where those issues, how those issues are going to play out, and how much sense it's going to make to move forward hard on them in this we're in a new world. I'm somebody who, I know that, like, you take the minimum wage, on a federal level, if we go back to what the minimum wage was, and I saw this story, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but from the mid 70s, and if we had just kept up with inflation, the minimum wage would now be $22 an hour. So, workers in those jobs are clearly falling behind year after year after year, and it's harder and harder as the minimum wage isn't keeping up with anything like, and so would I have been a supporter of the minimum wage bill that passed the legislature? Yeah, I would have. But I think that, that's done, and that's where it is. Paid family leave, I'm for it philosophically, but we're going to just have to, be honest and say we're going to have to really look at the economic landscape and really prioritize about what's most important for helping Vermonters get back on their feet when we get to Montpelier in January, whoever the we is.
The primary election that will determine who the Democratic slate of candidates for the two seats will be held on August 11th. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.